Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the AHA movement. My name is Yogesh Kapoor and I'm a communications coach. And today I have with me the Grace, so amazing, my accountability partner and a guest, Andrea Kay. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Now, before I go on, Andrea, tell us a little bit about yourself,
All
like
right. So,
what you do, and
who am I?
go
I
ahead.
am that I am. I am a 38-year-old home birthing, unschooling mompreneur of four. Right. So that encompasses a lot. I'm an online marketer. I help other people to awaken to their divine soul truth, find their purpose, and take their power back. I am a seeker of truth, a healer, intuitive healer, and I have been studying mindset, human transformation, and the process of creation for the last about 4.5 years, since January 2020, when I decided to become a coach so that I have tools to help people with mindset affordably. Affordably was always key for me. I feel that I am on a mission to shift the consciousness of humanity at this time, to wake more people up to the truth of who we are, to take, like I said, take our power back. I believe that we're powerful creators and we get to choose what we create. And that's actually the premise of the work that I do as a certified magnetic mind coach. So the 5 steps to conscious creation is what I focus on, and it's based on proven neuroscience, epigenetics, and quantum physics, alongside spiritual concepts and very spiritual alchemy, hermetic principles, universal law, so that we can rewire our brain and recode our DNA to literally step into higher levels of human potential. So it
Wow,
encompasses a lot. It's
that's
an incredible journey. Yes.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Wow. And you've done it in 4.5 years, which is pretty amazing because I know
Yes.
I've been speaking for 10 years, but I haven't upgraded as fast as you have. So that's a really amazing journey that you've gone through. And yeah, coming back to you, Grace, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Alrighty. Hi, everyone. It's another beautiful opportunity to share the aha moment where we share interesting conversations, like the one we're going to be having today. But before that, you know who I am. I am Grace So Amazing. I am a physicist and a life coach. But most importantly, I love, what I do, through conversations like this, because I believe that if you have a message, why keep it? So what we're doing right now is what I love, and I'm so happy to be here on this beautiful Sunday evening here in Nigeria, West Africa. Over to you,
Thank you for
Yogesh.
that, Grace.
Oh, tell us a little
Thank you
bit
so much
about
for that,
yourself.
Grace. Oh, me, I keep it simple. I am a communications coach. I help people with presentation skills and confidence and how to present in any given situation. So I'll just keep it at that. Now, we decided last week we were going to continue this conversation about choices and their consequences, right? And it was such a deep topic. So we decided to bring Andrea on to have her perspective on this since she, is well overqualified to speak on this. So, Andrea, last week we were talking about how we make choices and their consequences to everything, good, bad, whatever it is. And it's not just choices on a simple level, it's on many levels, right? On vibrational level, on what the words you speak. There are so many things when it comes to choices, because sometimes we get angry, we say things, or we sometimes do something which causes a chain reaction. And I gave an example of that last week. Was, I just flirted with my now wife, and I just said in a jokingly way, can you wait 5 years for me? And I want to ask your hand in marriage from your parents. And it literally happened 5 years later. And there was no intention behind what I said. It was just to break the ice because there was too much stress going on while we were performing on stage. And you see, so everything has a consequence. So what is your perspective on like choices and consequences?
Yeah, great question. So I was actually thinking about this a little bit, and from a quantum perspective, like our choices and our decisions create our life. It's the daily choices, the habits, right? That literally, from a quantum perspective, when you make a decision, all time and space collapses and you're on that timeline, that trajectory for your life. The moment you make a decision, it starts with that, right? And we have the opportunity to choose from this sea, this quantum field of infinite potentials and limitless possibility. And the moment you make that decision, you're on, like I said, that's your vision, that's where you're headed, right? But that's the thing, we have to decide first. And if you make a different decision, you'll end up, a different path, the butterfly effect, right? I was thinking about this earlier, the whole concept. And Grace actually has a degree for quantum physics, if I'm correct. So, the work I do uses the concepts of quantum physics. So I'm not maybe as well versed on the entire science, but I am learning more. Actually, I forgot to mention that I'm also a student at Maharishi International University online for consciousness and human potential. So I'm going more into depth into things. And our decisions create our life. And what happens, the problem is we're hardwired with habits, thoughts, feelings, perceptions, stories, the words that we speak. Like you said, it's all energy and it's all going out into this field and it's all mirrored and reflected back to us. But we're not aware of it. We're unconscious. We're creating unconsciously. This is where the concept of the 5 steps to conscious creation comes in. Holy shift. I'm awake. I'm aware. My decisions, my choices have been creating my reality step by step, the compound effect. And then you create momentum. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, one decision at a time.
Wow, that's beautifully said. I still remember the title of my first speech was Journey of 1,000 Miles. Sorry, it was the first step. And you just reminded me of that, what I did 10 years ago. What you just said now, makes a lot of sense. But do you ever, a lot of people, they don't know how to make the best choice. Like, I know we can say there's no best choice, but there must be a way to make a choice that will put us on the right timeline or on the right path. I mean, I know it's hard to even define what the right time or timeline or the right path is, but if we're trying to make decisions from our higher self, from our highest self, how would we go about doing that?
That's a great question. Do you want me to answer that, or Grace? Do you want to answer, or
let Grace? No, Grace, go ahead. I want to get your perspective, then we'll come to Andrea.
I mean, it's very beautiful. She mentioned quantum, but before we even go the quantum way, the basic things that we do and we say, and like you rightly said, you may have mentioned it in your head. It was casual, but right behind it, even you said that you didn't have that intention. Maybe at that point, right, you were in a very wonderful frequency, and you definitely created as soon as you said that. Now, this is not to say that you have to be in a certain type of because you're constantly creating. Now, the beautiful thing is what sets it apart is when there is this, so there is this cause and effect, which is a principle in the science, which is also in different religion, or, in different spheres, the different names, in today's world, we almost do the same thing, but in different, we see it from different perspectives. So in the science field, it's seen as cause and effect, and in other fields, it's seen as karma. And in our coaching world, we also see it as cause and effect, but we also like to call it, action and inaction. Depends on how you see it and how you want to say it. But to answer that question, if you really, really want to achieve something, it depends on your constant vibrational state. And this is what I mean. When you have an intention and you create, it's one thing to put it in a very pragmatic way. Now, you want to build a house. All you need to do is set things straight, get your building materials, and get started. However, it is dependent, the finished product of that building is dependent on how you are very consistent with, molding the blocks and doing all that you need to do. Now, if you want to be able to, if you have a choice now, you want to pick something, you want to do something, you have to be in a state of mind that keeps you on that trajectory of going through to that thing. So it's one thing to pick to have a choice. It's another thing to be consistent. It's another thing to have that state of mind that can keep you going for the long haul. So yes, it's one thing to have a choice. It's another thing, to keep going. So you have to. So what do you now have to do is to look for ways that you can continue to be in that mental state and capacity that can help your choice to go the way you want it to go. So that's how I would answer that question. I would also like to hear what you have to say about that,
Yeah,
Andrea.
absolutely. Consistency is definitely key, because if you make a decision, you're on a timeline, you make another decision, whoop, I'm going this way, whoop, I'm going that way, whoop, you know what I mean? You're never going to get anywhere if you have no vision that you're really moving towards. But so how do you continue to make those decisions? Being passionate about what you do, loving it, making your vision, your why stronger than anything. You mentioned every action has a reaction. That's also a principle in Ayurveda, in Maharishi Vedic science, right? So following your intuition, listening to your heart, and going for it. Like for me, the 5 steps to conscious creation, right? We're beings of free will and choice. We get to choose, but choosing it every single day, and then removing the resistance so that we're in flow on the path of least resistance. We're not worried about how is this all going to happen, right? I mean, I've done it a lot in the past 2 years. Oh my goodness, yes, but then we counter manifest, right? So
Yeah.
it really is. It's the inner alignment, getting the brain and the heart working together, clear intention, elevated emotion, and just doing the inner work first and foremost. And then, of course, taking the aligned action out here to make our dreams reality, because we're creators, but this creative energy works through us. But yes, we make the decision every day to show up and say yes to that and take the action that we feel called to do. Yeah.
Wow.
With you guys, right?
Wow, I love what both of you just said, and it was making me think. Andrea, what you said earlier about if you keep making different choices and then you get nowhere, because that's what was happening with me for quite some time, right? I moved to a certain country, I made this choice, and then again I changed, and then I got into something else, and then, like you said, you have to, what you said, Grace, keep that consistent mindset, and what you just said, Andrea, right? Like, you gotta have that passion for it and let the resistance go. Because when I first moved to China, when I made that decision a year and a half ago, like, I'm coming here, and I had a very big why for it, right? I wasn't passionate about it, but I had a very big why. And I said, okay, I'm going to go China. And then there was a lot of resistance, because in the beginning, I've not done this for many, many years, what I'm doing now. And there was resistance and all of that. But with time, I've let go of that resistance. And I'm just like, getting in the flow state. And when there's something new that pops up, I again feel the resistance. But then once I master it, I again get in a flow state. So I really love what you said. But you're right. You guys are right. Make the choices. You gotta take the action and all of that. And of course, Grace, what you said, karma. In some language, it's called karma. Some language, it's called something else. But how does one know that he's on the right path after making the choice?
Okay. Do you want to go for it? But before you answer that, someone said something, so I want us to hold that thought, so that while you're answering that, you would get into consequences and all of that. Today, I was listening to a podcast, and the person said that life generally is about us managing consequences. Life is about us managing consequences. And he went ahead to say that there are some consequences that we as human beings are actually suffering from
Mm.
because of what our parents or other people had to do that we don't even have enough, we do not have hands in it. And then the person went as far as giving us a practical example of um I don't know if you know about sickle cell. Sickle cell is a condition, with people with genotype SS, and the only reason for people to have such illnesses or such only when somebody with the genotype AS marries or sleeps with someone with AS. So when they come together, they would give birth to somebody with SS. The probability of them giving birth to a child with the SS genotype is 100%. Now, this child is innocent, but the child has nothing to do with whatever the child is going through, because the child will be sick for almost 30 years of their life. The child would always suffer from bone issues to other issues. So the child is the one suffering it. But at the time, the parents were in love. They didn't think of the consequences. And
Mm.
it's not even affecting them at that point, right? So that example he gave made me to open my mind to think that is there a possibility that sometimes we are actually going through certain consequences that we are unaware of. So, why I decided to talk about these things is because you asked this question around, and that sickle cell anemia is very popular here in Africa. I don't think it's over there, but science has done something, to reduce that. Now, but the question you asked is, how do you know you're on the right track? Sometimes you may not even know, but you're going with the flow. That doesn't mean that when the consequences come, it don't show. So I honestly think that when it comes to knowing the right choice, the best thing that I do, the best thing that I do practically is I look at it from different perspectives. What are the odds? What could happen if this, and this happens? What I would find out, I'll look for the facts that surrounds it. I would look for similar issues. I would look for things, even though we are unique, some things are hardwired to follow a particular trajectory, right? So I would look for the odds. I would look for things that could pop up, when taking these decisions. And then I would say to myself, am I willing to deal with the consequences? And if the answer is yes, I would go ahead. But if I look at it, I don't think I'll be able to handle the consequences, I would look for an option that would help me, do it the other way. So let me throw the question to you. Do you believe that sometimes people are actually going through consequences that they have no idea where it's coming from? What do you have to say about that?
Absolutely. Actually, a quote came right to my mind. So, Dr. Joseph Murphy, the author of The Power of the Subconscious Mind, says ignorance is the only sin and suffering is the consequence. Jesus said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." We don't know. We're unaware. We're unconscious. We're not aware. Self-awareness. Holy shift. I'm here. I'm creating this. My thoughts, my feelings. We're just living unconsciously, running on that hardwired programming. So how do we know? Well, or I think it is a knowing personally, like an inner knowing, trusting your inner self, making that connection, faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen, right? You can't see it. You can see it here. That's where you start, because we create from the inside out. It's the only way, pretty much, right? We can force, and yeah, maybe have some success, but it's just not going to be as fun and easy and like it's supposed to be. We were just talking about this on a call that I had the other day about flow, right? Our natural state is flow. It's that we're going against the current. Like, who was saying that too? Or one of you were saying it, or it's just been coming up so much about being in flow. And it's true. Just release the resistance and flow with it, right? And listen and take that divine inspired action, and it'll be easy and it'll be fun, and you're going to love what you do, like being here and having this conversation. And then when I'm done here, what do I get to do for the rest of the day? Go outside in the sunshine and play with my kids and be in that vibration of just love and contentment and peace. That you were mentioning that too. Like, how do you, keep that frequency, all frequencies sending out information, gratitude, focusing on the abundance, the beauty that surrounds us, appreciating nature. We overlook these things so often that we're actually here. I've actually, if I'm going to mention this real quick, because I had a really profound lesson over the last few days, a lot of death, our cat and 2 bunny rabbits. And I'm like, the whole concept of this is like, makes you appreciate life even more. And to become more aware of the gift that it is now here in the present moment, right?
That's so true. That's so true what you just said, especially about gratitude. It's funny because every time my colleague is here in town, he comes from Spain, and we end up going to a place to hang out. And every time we start complaining about something, this woman passes by on crutches with one leg, and she's selling flowers. And every time I just give her like $20, and I say, I don't need the flower, just take the $20. And then we look at each other and we're like, what were we complaining about? And it happens every single time we go there. I mean, it's already happened like in the last 1 week twice. And I was like, it's like every time we're complaining, she passes by with the flowers. And it's just a reminder that you have to be in the gratitude, right? Mm-hmm. And what you said about momentum earlier, I mean, I came to China, I don't speak the language even till today, right? And I had to set things up here. And now there's an office, now there's 4 people working under me. And there's so many things going on, and I just kept going. And how it was going to happen, I had no clue. I came in COVID. I came here when it was shut from the world, and because I have a Chinese passport, I am allowed to come. So when I look back in that journey, and I'm like, okay, I made a decision, and I said, this is what I'm going to do, and I just kept going and going, and now it's just the momentum is just going on and on and on and on, and I can see that, okay, I made the decision and I stuck to it. And I know this is what I told myself is what I'm going to do for the next 5 years. I'm not going to divert my mind from here to there, even though sometimes I do get tempted to, go back into a lot of the things I was doing. But I'm like, no, this is the prime thing I want to focus on right now. So, and coming back to the whole consequence thing, right? What Grace, you were saying about, sometimes we, you said, the parents fell in love, the child is paying the consequence, right? Andrea said the right thing, ignorance, right? They didn't know about it probably. They were not educated about it.
Yeah.
And today the child is suffering. But of course, in other terms, somebody would say, in last birth, you did something, and that's the consequence. In this birth, you're sick. They could even put it in that sense, right? Everybody has their own way of explaining things. And it's very, like sometimes when I say something on WhatsApp and somebody corrects me, they're like, don't use those words because they will manifest. Try to be a little more positive when you're talking, right? So I've noticed I've started doing that to them now. When I hear them talk something negative and I'm like, you can't say those words, right? And I myself am learning every day, and especially in this conversation today with both of you, I had my aha moment already. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, now I get it. Why it's always like, this is not working out, that is not working out, because I'm always somewhere, there's some resistance, or I have said something that stops the flow when it's happening, and the doubts and the fears come in, and the flow just it just gets stuck. So I've had my aha moment already in this conversation. But moving forward, Grace, we were talking about last week. We were talking about certain things or certain exercises we can do to like be in the flow state and make better choices and all. Do you want to kind of like, because you are also a habits coach, right? So you want to kind of tell us a little bit on that, like give us some tips, tricks, anything. Because I remember you were my accountability coach.
Yes, perspective, constantly change, and as we learn, we grow, we take up new learning. So before now, I would say that okay, don't say negative things, don't dwell on the negative and all of that. While that is still in place, but I've started to see things differently because while we think that some things happen to us, or when we find ourselves in certain situations and we are on what we need to take us to the next level. Again, I would always come from the perspective of, in our coaching field, nothing is wrong, nothing is right. It's what you're learning from it and how it's helping you. That's where I've always, that's where I'm at right now. So beyond, just saying some terms, like this won't happen. Can we just hold on a bit and then, check out certain situations that we find ourselves? And I'm sure Andrew will agree with me because I watch sometimes there are certain things that you say that I'm like, yes, I support that post with 1 million likes, right? So and that's for me, number one, what I would say is learn how to look at things from several perspectives. That's the first thing. When you look at something from one perspective, it will just make you see things like it is happening to you rather than see that it is happening for you. With that perspective, a lot of mind shifts and a lot of things would happen, in a positive light. So let me give you a practical example. Because the mind is the power. The tool we have is our mind, the tool. And then you said something, if I should say that recently, Andrea said something about how, some of the things that we get information. I think I read it on your, and I said something about it. The mind is super powerful that sometimes I'm like, wow, one major consequence that I for myself realized was when the C word, I don't want to mention it, when it came, right, I practically got the symptoms from fear watching certain things. So what did I do? So when I realized, so I'm going somewhere with this, how number one on the list is changing perspectives and, giving a practical example to help people see it is when I think about the C word, COVID. What are we keeping it for? COVID. When I think about it, I'm beginning to almost feel like I have no taste buds. I'm beginning to feel my nose. I'm like, I think I have it. I think I have it, right? And then sometimes, because of the information that I have given myself through Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza, I will just see myself energized. I'm like, no, I don't have it. Let me go for my run. And I would go 10 kilometers. I'm running and I'm running and I'm running and I'm back and I don't have that shit. And I'm strong again. And then when I now see some news that looks like I'm like, no, 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 that's not happening. That's exactly how the mind works. And I'm saying this because this is the reason why we sometimes make choices that we forever regret. What are you thinking for time? What's the information information you're getting per time is going to make you either make a decision that will affect you for the rest of your life, going to ever take back. Number one, change your perspective. Number two, be intentional about what you're consuming. What you're consuming, the day it will be useful will be a day when you are in your low vibrational state. So what you have consumed over time is going to come up. I'm like, hey babes, nah, not today. Remember what we talked about, talking about the mind. It's powerful. What you want, you can get, you can create, you can say you don't have this, and then you walk towards it, and then you're up again. And it happened to me very, very, practically when we were dealing with that. And I realized when I became fearless, I'm like, no, my immune system is just too powerful to carry this. And my power, my cells are just too strong to what's that? And believe you me, from that point till date, even as little as nausea is so afraid, even if it comes, I just give that command, go to work, immune system, go to work. You have the power, you have the strength. And this is not just powerful statements, these are facts from what we see in nature. You see plants, they'll wither a bit, and before you know it, they're all back again. Power, So when I see, and then connecting with nature, keep quiet so that Andre can continue from there. Number one, perspective, then to learn. Number two, get information that would empower your mindset, which is very normal. Those days would honestly come because you need to come whether you want it or not. And finally, the that constant reminder, that powerful self-talk that has kept me, moving, and I keep pushing and keep those three tips is what I would say for now. And I'll let you, Andrew, to continue from there.
Okay. I'm sorry, was it just me, or was she breaking up a little bit?
She was breaking up a little bit here, there, yeah.
Okay. So can you hear me okay? I just want to make
Sorry,
sure.
It's about to rain. It's about to rain here.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You were cutting a little in and out. I didn't know if it was on my end, so I just wanted to make sure. But I mean, I got a lot of the gist of everything you're saying, and like fear. Yes. Oh my goodness. We're love. God is love. That's what we're made out of. Pure unconditional love. We fall into this illusion of fear, false evidence appearing real. And we create this reality that is not even real. It's not based on our true nature. Like as within, so without. We're creating from the inside out. So if our consciousness is living in fear, that's what we're manifesting on the outside. I believe heaven and hell, they're states of consciousness. It's our mind. You look around and everybody's fear, overwhelm, guilt, depression, shame, all these lower vibrations. So that's what we're creating on the outside. But I believe we're seeing this massive shift in human consciousness where our awareness is expanding to this. And it's huge for me. Like an example, home birth. People ask me, how did you have a home birth? How did you not go to the doctor or not, I didn't allow fear into my consciousness. People will say things, aren't you scared? I had a past experience. We love doing that. We base future experience on the past. We get stuck, right? You mentioned Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton. Joe Dispenza says you can't create a new future stuck in a familiar past. Your mind can be a record of the past or a map to the future, right? So we have to remember that we're creators, and that focus, Yogesh was saying, what we focus on, we create. So focus on love, joy, peace, gratitude, abundance. We have this tendency as human beings, focus on the negative. You ask someone, how are you doing? Whatever. They start telling you their problems, right? Well, what do you expect? But they're unaware. Forgive them, right? They don't know that what they're speaking, they're creating. Abracadabra literally means I create with the words that I speak. vibration, frequency, sound. I always say in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was made flesh. The Word is sound, frequency, vibration. Just as this infinite creative source, God, source, universe, divine intelligence, infinite creator, whatever you choose to call it, is creating all this, it created us. We're made in the image, and we too are powerful creators. And so, we've been living, I think, in this age of ignorance where we didn't know, but now we don't know what we don't know, but now we're starting to wake up and become aware. So now is the time to shift. And these are these aha moments. Holy shift. That's one of my taglines. That's an aha moment. Holy shift. Holy shift. Everything changes and your perception changes. Like you said, Grace, so we can't change that which we aren't aware of. But once we're aware, we cannot help but change. And when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I just quoted Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton there for you. And epigenetics and neuroscience tell us that we have the potential to do this, to change our DNA, which is, I'm sitting here talking to you about this and I'm like, holy shift. Is this real life? You know what I mean? Like, but that's our potential. And we're barely even tapping into it. But we're starting to. I always like to try to shift, to focus on that vision in alignment. If you say something that doesn't feel good, shift it, change it, right? So understanding our power and becoming more and more aware of it, releasing that fear.
So agree with both of you on that. Grace, what you said, especially about what you're consuming. I never watch the news. I don't want to watch the news because the only thing you hear in the news is there's war, there's death, there's something negative. I never hear, oh, today there was a baby born and there was way more sunshine than there ever should be. I haven't thought about it. One day I'll open a news channel called Happy News, for people who just want to hear happy stuff and just come there and listen to that stuff. I don't consume that stuff anymore. I consume a lot of like what Andrea mentioned, Joe Dispenza and all. I listen to their talks. In the mornings, I listen to Louise Hay. Whenever I'm in a low vibrational state, I start listening to her gratitude affirmations and all of that, and get that vibration going. And once I get in the flow state, everything just starts moving forward. And, like Andrea says, holy shift, right? And that again is the aha
That's going to
moment.
be our tagline. Holy shit. I love it.
Yeah, it's just so amazing. In the beginning, I was like, okay, I wasn't getting it. Now I get it, right? And it's like, oh, wow, that is something that should be like what I do when I speak on stage, right? Before I go, I do my speech contest, whatever I do, I feel afraid. I get into that state of, oh my God, my heart starts beating, blah, blah, blah. People think I don't get into that state. I am. We're born with it, right? Since the dinosaur age. But the moment I'm about to go on stage, right? Like Andrea reminded me, it's showtime, right? And that's when everything moves aside and my focus becomes my audience. Because I've said this many times. I was even telling someone today that I always give an example when I teach my students is, fear, you're afraid because you're focusing on yourself. The moment you shift your focus to your audience, fear will disappear. Because I'm like, think of a baby running towards the road, a truck is coming, the truck driver can't see the baby. What are you going to do? Everyone's like, we're going to go and try to save the baby. I'm like, exactly. Do you give a damn what color the baby is, what religion the baby is, or whose baby it is? No, you're just going to run, right? Treat your audience as your baby. And that will get rid of the fear immediately. And I always say this, if there are 100 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people in a room, I'm looking for that one who needs to hear my voice today. And that's the reason I keep joining the speech contests. And sometimes even I repeat my speeches, right, in different countries. But end of the day, somebody else has to hear that message that day. And I change my vibrational state, And coming back to the whole choices and consequences thing, it's such a deep topic, isn't it, ladies? It's such a deep topic. Like when you think about it, the words we use, the thoughts we think. And you reminded me of something, both of you. When I was really like hard on wanting to become world champion of public speaking, I remember I went to Vancouver. I stayed in this hotel, right? And this is like few years later, 3, 4 years later, I'm cleaning my office in Hong Kong. I'm throwing out stuff, right? And I find this catalog with the same hotel on it, right? And I've got this catalog before I went to Vancouver. And I must have somewhere in my subconscious mindset, I hope I can stay. But you see, there was no resistance when I said that. I just said it. And years later, I'm realizing, oh my God, I stayed in that very same hotel that I saw in a catalog in Hong Kong, and I'm staying there in Vancouver after moving to Indonesia. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that. And there's another guy I follow on Instagram called Joey Yap. He's some sort of a energy healer guy. And I found his name card in my office, and I was like, where did I get this? I must have got it ages ago in some trade show, but why would I have an energy healer's card? But you see, something there happened, and there was a choice there, and I started following this guy. So there's so many things about, choices and consequences that I can keep on telling you guys stories where there's not been resistance, it just shows up. Somehow it shows up, right? But when there's resistance, we have to work on it and keep going. And what you said, Grace, don't consume the negative, and what Andrea, you said about fear. So all adds up. All adds up.
Yeah.
Now, Grace, thank you for sharing those tips. Andrea, is there something you would want to share? Like, what would you do, in terms of choices and consequences? What tricks or tips or anything you want to give us from your side?
Well, it all starts with that decision. So you just have to make the decision, whatever that is for you. Again, I just always refer back to the 5 steps of conscious creation. If you want something, choose it. I choose the end result. I choose the reality of living a life that I love, or whatever it is, and just remove what's in the way. So like flow, the flowing structure, there's 3 structures. Stuck. We all, we're stuck. You're not moving. You're not going anywhere. You're oscillating, like a little bit of success, then you're pulled back. Your old identity is like, hey, it's not safe. Get back here in your comfort zone. And you're like, what's going on here? Right. Or there's the flow, which is ideal. Now that's our natural state. Right. And it's like a rubber band. If you think of a rubber band, you stretch it out. Tension naturally seeks resolution. It wants to just come together. The universe, God, source, whatever, wants to give us what we want. Our subconscious, it's all just programmed into us. So we just have to remove the boulders, the knots in the rubber band that are keeping it from coming together, that are stopping it. These are our limiting beliefs, the emotions, the traumas, the things passed down generationally. But now we know through the epigenetics, we can recode our DNA. Like, this is revolutionizing the field of psychology, which is just mind-blowing, again, that I'm even sitting here talking about this. Holy shift. But we can recode our DNA. They used to say our genes were set in stone. But no, now we know that we can signal our genes ahead of our environment. So before you get up into the mundane, like every day, and get in those habits and patterns, you create from the inside out. You imagine a new reality and release the resistance, which is part of the 5 steps of conscious creation, where you rewire, and then you just go and take the aligned action, and you become the magnet, and you're moving towards it easily and effortlessly for the most part, right? Just the easier it is, the easier it gets.
Yep. The easier it is, the easier it gets. That's an aha for me.
That was an aha for me right now. I just said that. I was like, did I just say that? Like, yeah, it gets to be easy. We can choose that. We're taught it has to be hard, has to be this way. That's another thing. It has to be perfect. It has to be this way. No, you literally get to be you. It's one of the core 4 choices in the magnetic mind method. I choose to live my true nature and purpose. And your true nature, you're a pure creative spirit, and you get to express that creativity in the most authentic way possible. So you get to, like you say, be you. Right?
Yep,
and
exactly.
That's the problem. We're fighting against ourselves. Aha, boom, another. We're fighting against ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly, because I had done a personal development course a couple of years ago, and they kept saying in that, by the way, it's 4444 the live. Sorry, I always look at the numbers.
Yeah.
And it's like my coach was telling me, get out of your head,
Mhm.
and at the same time he would say, "There's no one out there; it's here." And I would get so confused at times, like, what is he talking about? And I learned so much from that. And they were talking about how you even create the people around you. If you keep thinking this person is like that, you are creating that person in that way. For example, if you keep saying, "Oh, my friend is always late," then that's what's going to happen. That's the consequence of that thought, that feeling towards that person. But if you feel this person is reliable, this person is trustworthy, that's how that person even shows up. So, and back then the concept was like, how's that possible, right? But now you realize it. And even Joseph Murphy, when I listened to him, he was talking about this example of a husband and wife and how she always nagged at him, and to get even with her, he went out with another woman, and then eventually they prayed every night for each other, and he got a job promotion. He was with her again, and all of that. So it's like, wow, right? There's so much, but then we're so hardwired. Like, there's some things even I still am hardwired. I'm just not being able to change it. Like, I have a smoking addiction, right? I smoke. I stop a couple of years. I start again. Then I stop again. Then I start again. And now I'm living alone in China. I'm smoking again. And then I stop for a month. And then again I'm back on it. Like, I'm a little hardwired. Then I know there are going to be consequences to that, right? But I just need to, like you said, really work on it as of now. And it's from inside. It's not going to come from anywhere else. Like, I have to be like, nope means nope, right? And stop it. So, but there's so much aha to it. It's got to be easy. It's not hard, right? We always hear hard work. This is hard. That is hard. And in my personal development course, there was a lady who had to bring 21 guests, and she was like, told herself it's easy, and she got 21 guests in one shot, while people take months to bring 21 guests.
Yeah.
So, wow, right? This conversation, yeah, alone is like, what would you tell someone who's having a tough time aligning? Because we say something but we don't feel it. We're trying to feel it and it's not happening. What would you tell someone who's trying to align? Because I think alignment is very important when you make a decision.
It's a big part. It's, again, just releasing that resistance however you can. There's so many different methods and methodologies and things that we can use. The gratitude, the abundance, the recode method that I use to rewire, to release resistance. I mean, just your focus, choosing, like, it's a consistent work. Like you said, you still have rewiring, I still have rewiring. It's not like, you know what I mean? And the resistance can resurface. We're human beings. The number one principle in the scientific intelligence, science of creative intelligence, is the nature of life is to grow. We're here to learn, grow, expand, and evolve. And it's a never-ending journey of learning and expansion. So just continuing to work on yourself, becoming aware of when you do go unconscious. I don't want to feel that way. Choose a new feeling. Right? There's this emotional scale, like I said, fear, survival, anger, guilt, shame, resentment. Okay, I'm feeling these. I'm aware of it. How do I want to feel? Peace, joy, gratitude. Gratitude is just like one of the fastest ways to shift. Look around and just find something to be grateful for. But it's the awareness. The awareness is key. So, yes, Grace, nice to have you back. We lost you for a minute.
Yeah, I was going to come back to Grace because you kind of disappeared.
Yes, I was outside. It was raining. It started raining heavily, so I had to come inside. So I'm in the house right now. So yes, I just didn't want to miss it, So I was just, following, and I was listening to you. And I think we've really touched on this topic, and I absolutely love your perspective and how you're able to, help us see things from, which is what I actually love. And what I told myself in recent times is I would go and Google. I don't know if you can hear me. Let me know, by waving if you can hear me. All right. Okay. So I said I would Google for the controversial people, the people that the world would term controversial, especially by the Medical Association of the world, whatever, if there's anything like that. I would go into, the science world, technology, people that are termed controversial. There's something there to learn. When people when people are termed controversial, it is probably because they are pricking people. They want people to learn something. They want people to be able to think out of the box and to remove themselves from the programming that they found themselves. So the high and mighty will come up with, don't listen to that person. It's a big lie. That person is not this. Such people would help us learn something that can help us. So that's what I'm deciding, the choice I want to make this week, to be able to find out certain things that can, further broaden my horizon and, see things from, several angles. I think we have done so well today already. We've done over almost an hour, so I think it's a good place to kind of wrap it up. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. We can always come back and come back on this topic next week, or something else you think we can discuss about. Something you said earlier reminded me of something, but I forgot now. I wanted to just mention it. Yes. So Grace, Andrea, Grace said to me, what do you think we should have a guest? Right? And just before she asked me that question, I was like already thinking about you, as a guest. And then I'm like, who do you have in mind? And she said to me, Andrea. And I was like, you see, that's how it works. That's how it works, as when we are one and when you're in alignment, right? I was already thinking about you. Maybe the vibration of that got to Grace, and she asked the question, should we have a guest? And when I said, who do you have in mind? And she said, Andrea. And we do pass thoughts across, right? It's given. People have the same idea, but it's the one who implements first, right? I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg wasn't the only one with Facebook, or whoever started YouTube or Instagram. There must have been people who had the idea, but they didn't make the decision, right? So this is kind of like wraps it up perfectly. So any last words, Andrea, you want to say for today? And once again, thank you so much for being our guest. But anything else you want to leave us with that would help the audience make those super conscious decisions?
I was just going to say, make the decision. That's just what it is. I have this thing. It's called AIDA, awareness, interest, decision, action. Like, you got to bring the awareness to it, make the decision, get interested in it, and take the action. Just to do the work, whatever it is that you want. There are no limitations, except, like I was just saying, except those in your own mind. It's only you that's stopping you, right? So whatever you want, you can have it. You just have to choose.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. That is so simple and yet so perfect. Grace, what about you? Any final words before we end the live? Great. I think she can't hear me.
Can you hear us, Grace?
Or maybe I can see she's frozen there. Anyways, for everyone who attended us in this live, thank you so much. If you do watch the replay, #replay. And once again, this is the AHA movement. Do come in every Sunday and watch us live, speak about uncertain topics, and with amazing guests like Andrea. Once again, I would like to thank you on behalf of us and the audience for being our first guest on the AHA movement. There's so much wisdom in you, and I'm waiting to even learn more from you. I've been following you for the last 4 years, I think since 2020. Yeah. So I'm seeing your growth. It's amazing. And, someday I hope to even follow suit, upgrading myself with all the knowledge once I'm more focused. Right now, my focus has changed for the next couple of years, but thank you once again. And bye-bye, everyone. See you at the next live next week, next Sunday, same time, 12 EST. And Grace, are you back in time to say bye-bye? Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea.